Hey folks, this is John Miller, Executive Editor with WB News. We would like to welcome you to Ask the Experts, featuring John Halderman of Beacon Wealth Management. John is the founder, owner, and certified wealth strategist at Beacon Wealth Management. You can find out more at bwmwv.com. And now live from the studios of the Exponent Telegram in Clarksburg, West Virginia, let's Ask the Expert. Welcome to Ask the Expert with John Halderman of Beacon Wealth Management. John, it's election season, and obviously lots of rhetoric going back and forth with the presidential election. Does it really matter who's elected, or?
You know what? It's so funny, John, because both sides are coming at us, as the key word you said, rhetoric. But if you look at history, okay, it's not about Democrats versus Republican. It's not about one particular president can make that much of a difference. And when I say this, it doesn't mean he doesn't have impact, but it's really about economic policy. And what I tell people is whether you're a Democrat or whether you're a Republican, policy can win either way. I mean, a good example of that was during the Clinton years. We did great as a country because what we did is we put the needs of our country first. But we also did the same thing during the Reagan years. So both presidencies, we had great success as a country and as an economy, basically because we focused on what pushed our economy in the right direction. Now, do I think there's certain things that matter? Absolutely. But either of those presidents had that option to create the right type of policy.
Well, let's dive a little bit into that type of policy that might be advantageous to those looking to save for their retirement. I mean, what are you looking for as far as policy is concerned when it comes to economic development and taxation and things like that when it comes to wealth generation?
Yeah, right now, it's about inflation. You think about this, Main Street, the families that have to be fed, the electric bill that has to be paid, the going out and building a new house. We are in a position right now that inflation was so high these last few years that it's hindering the economic development we need. Don't get me wrong. I don't think inflation has to be super low. It doesn't have to be the 1 or 2% or at zero. It can be a healthy 3 or 4, but we can't have inflation at 9% and actually expect our economy to do sustainably well. And so the first thing I think that any president has to do is they have to get inflation under control, because once we get inflation under control, well, then we can borrow again, because when inflation is high, borrowing costs are high. And so, initially we had a carryover from the COVID-free money. But after that, we're back into reality because, we see people aren't willing to go out and take the chance of spending money on certain things because it costs so much. Because the difference between borrowing at 7 or 8% compared to 2 or 3% is huge. It's huge. And so that's a big difference in spurring the economy for the average person.
Have you seen inflation impact people's ability to save and invest?
Oh, absolutely, because the more it costs, the less net money in your pocket. And so absolutely, because we need people to be able to save money. When you think about generations, okay, you look at generations that are savers, well, those people can live a better standard of living. But when you're just trying to survive and you're just trying to live paycheck for paycheck, that's an issue. I mean, that's a big, big issue, because if you can't survive, you definitely can't save into your 401k. And as we always talk about here, the first step is if you're offered free money from your employer, you've got to be able to take advantage of that. But if you have to make a choice between buying bread, paying your utility bills versus getting the free money, it could be a decision that you don't really want to have to make. And so inflation's a big deal when it comes for Main Streeters.
What else are you looking at in terms of the political scheme of things, both on the national and state level? Are there things that investors or people looking to get close to that retirement age should be concerned about?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned taxes, and we can talk all day about taxes, but let's face it, energy independence. It doesn't matter who you are. I mean, sure, we'd like clean energy, okay? We would. But statistically, we're not running out of natural resources. And, when we lead the world, the global stage in energy, it also puts us in a leadership position. And when we're in a leadership position, that creates respect. And the one thing that I know is I fear Okay, I fear for my own family. When I say this, safety's a big deal. You know, I have 3 children. And so if we have global leaders that don't respect us and they're willing to go to war over, you know, where we are with energy independence, that's a big deal because it affects us in 2 ways. It affects us in safety, but it also affects us in money. Because, you know, for an average American, they want a solid job, and energy has created solid opportunities. Now, I'm not saying that we should ignore, energy efficiency. I'm not saying that we shouldn't take advantage of increased technology, but there shouldn't be so much rhetoric that it's an all or none. We should be able to somehow balance that to where we can continue to take advantage of energy independence, but at the same time improve on our other efficiencies as we transition.
Yeah, obviously, I mean, it's always mystified us a little bit that, this all-in policy seems so common sense. Let's use everything to generate the energy we need.
Absolutely.
And that also provides other wealth gaining opportunities. I mean, you have other things to invest in besides oil or coal or natural gas. And, so in terms of what's the best case scenario for the American people moving forward in terms of what they need, whoever's elected, what do they need to be in a position to be investing for the future?
Well, I think first of all, we as Americans, we really have to define why we're Americans and what's important to us. And when I say that, I talk about safety, whether that's safety, from terrorists, whether that's safety from Border Patrol, or whether that's law and order. I mean, we have to have an environment to where our workers, no matter where they are, our military, no matter where they are, they feel safe and they can do their jobs. And I think that when you go to the polls to vote, you have to look at why you're voting. Don't get caught up in rhetoric. We get so caught up in the fact that, hey, look, we're thinking that they're going to change this, the 2025 project, as an example. And we put this extreme message out there. And I'm not saying that could be extreme to certain people, but is it the most important thing? Don't let little things get caught up. Don't sit there and get caught up in the fact that, Sleepy Joe is almost dead versus, Trump is a dictator. I don't know if Joe's almost dead, nor do I know Trump a dictator. But what I do know is that we as Americans, we've got to put our priorities out there. We've got to decide, what makes us who we are. And then we got to vote based on that, because we keep putting our heads in the sand. And so if we want to make our economic positions better, then we've got to do our own research versus just being influenced by 20-second sound bites. Because TikTok's great. I love it for dance moves, got all kinds of dance moves. But guess what? I don't want to be influenced on my policy because of TikTok or Instagram or whatever it may be.
John, I'm always amazed at the broad wealth of knowledge that you have. John Halterman of Beacon Wealth Management, any closing words on the election and investment?
Yeah, you know what? Regardless of who wins the election, I believe that we as a country will still win in the end if we do the things we talked about. But there's no doubt about it. We've got to get united. If we continue this fighting, we continue to try to say that one is extreme versus the other, then that's going to be the demise of us as a country. And so it's we, the people, have to wake up, make smart decisions, and continue to believe in freedom and opportunity.
Again, thanks for joining us here on Ask the Expert. John Halterman, always a pleasure. Thank you and good day.